Greetings, all. It's Max, and we're back. And today, ho ho ho, we got a thing we're going to talk about in faith works in the Old Testament, and if works was actually a part of your salvation in the Old Testament. I already did a study with Hebrews 11. Just search Hebrews on my channel, and you can see the whole thing. I'm going to briefly go over this. Now, I used to actually be in a faith works sort of camp with the Seventh Day Adventist. And then going through Brian Denlinger. Now, the works that people were doing in the Old Testament had nothing to do with their salvation as far as going to heaven. They had to do with blessings from God. Hebrews 11 plainly states it out all the way from all of the major players here. By faith, Abel did this. By faith, Enoch. By faith, but without faith, it is impossible to please him. This is Hebrews 11. By faith, Noah, being warned of God of the things not seen of yet, moved with fear, preparing an ark to the saving of his house, by which he condemned the world and became heir of righteousness, which is by faith. So Noah had to build a boat, which is a work, but that was for his physical salvation. Now, where people get this confusion is, if it's faith alone, then you don't have to do anything. Not for your salvation. You don't. But you're supposed to do things for blessings from God. The reason Israel got messed up and stuck in Egypt for 400 years is because they weren't following what God was telling them. You can't be blessed. You can be blessed or you can be cursed by God. Okay? You get blessings from God for working for God. And that is all throughout the Old Testament, people working for God who are already saved, but they're working. They're doing something. All right? What does this have to do with the Corinthians? Well, what are our commandments today? Love your neighbor as you love yourself, and be charitable. Now, I'll probably do a Bible study on the entire thing of Corinthians, okay? Right now we're going to cover 1 Corinthians 13. Applying to today, all right? Now, in the Old Testament, if the Jews didn't do what God said, they were cursed, or they were put into bondage. They had all sorts of problems, okay? And if they did what God said, they would be blessed. It's the same thing today. Didn't have anything to do with salvation, though. Nothing. And I'll preface this by saying, a lot of people out there are like, what can I do for God? I don't know how to run a YouTube channel. I don't really know how to street preach. I really don't know how to do this, that, or the other thing. This is the reason that people give to ministries. Because other people can do it. But you're still working for God. If you give, if you're a Catholic, would you have tithe? 10% of your income goes to the Catholics or something like that. That's the idea. You're still working for God. I don't recommend doing that with the Catholic Church. But it is still working. And then you receive blessings. So I'm going to start 1 Corinthians 13. And you know me, I always do the whole chapter, so this is probably going to be a long video. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Means if you don't have charity. Okay, this is works, all right? You're saved, but you're worthless, okay? And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, and I have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, And though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. What is this talking about? Because isn't giving all your goods to feed the poor charity? No. He's talking about not doing anything all of his life, and then when he dies, giving his stuff to charity. But he wasn't actively doing it. This is what he is referencing. It doesn't matter if you give all your stuff after you're dead to charity. It is how you operate on a day-to-day basis. Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not, charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up. No. Doth not behave itself unseemingly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil. Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now I see through a glass darkly. But then face to face, now I know in part. But then shall I know, even as I am known. And now abideth in faith, hope, charity, these three, but the greatest of these is charity. Now, and unfortunately, a lot of people take advantage of this. Roman Catholics take advantage of this. Joel Osteen, whoever that lady is out there, and they all have their private jets and stuff. And they'll go to 1 Corinthians 13. But this is works. This is, people out there, the general person, is maybe not called to go out and go preach on the street, go give out Bibles, go do this and go do that. They probably don't have time. I mean, you go to work 8-10 hours a day or something like that, and you got a little bit of money. You give it to somebody else who can do that. And that is a work, and that is charity. I can say from my own experience, the reason that you work for God is because you get blessed. I gave a decent amount of money to a ministry. Of course, they turned out to be heretics, but I was blessed. There's no other way to put it. I was going to, I had received a good amount of inheritance, and I was considering giving the whole thing away to different organizations, and God told me no, but I did give some away. And within a year, I had just enough money to pay cash for a house. Granted, it's a crap house, but between me and my wife, we figured it out, and I, rebuilding it ever since. So, there are blessings by doing works. It has nothing to do with salvation. Okay? Nothing at all. If you want blessings, do something for God. And I think that a lot of people miss that in the Old Testament. The Old Testament people, they were saved. Well, they have to sacrifice all these lambs, and they have to do this, they have to do that. Noah had to build a boat, and they think that was their salvation. No, that was something they were doing by faith. And the other things were, well, God wants us to do this. Jews were wandering in the desert after getting out of Egypt, and they had manna from God. And, as long as you follow these rules, God's going to feed you in the desert. That's physical salvation. And they're blessed for doing and following what God told them to do. Period. Now, in the church age, we don't have specific things that God says, you have to do this. Well, no. Love your neighbor as you love yourself and be charitable. That's pretty much about it. But the whole idea that if I buy my neighbor a snowblower because he needs a snowblower somehow saves you, no. And it has to do with rewards in heaven. And we'll go to 1 Corinthians 3, verses 8 and 9. Now he that planteth and he that watereth are one, and every man shall receive his own reward according to his own labor. For we are laborers together with God. Ye are God's husbandry, ye are God's building. When you're saved, you're supposed to do something for God. Okay? And if you can't, and you don't know what to do, you're supposed to support other people who are doing things for God. Okay? That's the whole reason why you donate to your local church, if you like your local church. It's the whole reason why you donate to internet people out there. Because if you're not doing anything yourself, at least you can work to finance other people to do things. Okay? That's the whole deal. Nothing much has changed today as it was in the Old Testament. The difference is in the Old Testament, God had specific things that he said. Okay? Noah built a boat. I mean, he had very specific things. You know, Cain, don't give me vegetables. Okay? That's not what I want. Okay? Very specific things. The New Testament, we don't have that. We really don't. But yes, you still work for God. Has nothing to do with your salvation. But when you get to heaven, you have nothing. All of your works are burnt up. You got wood, hay, and stubble. I think that's about what I have on that. And I'm really considering doing a whole deal on Corinth because, yeah, I'll have to think about that. The church in Corinth, for anyone who does not know, is pretty much a wicked church. They're all saved people, but they're all still really caught up in the world. And I think that would be a good one to go through. And with that, I think we're going to be out of here.